So, I'm really excited to say that we're talking to Gary James from Made TV, and Gary's from Made in Birmingham.
That's right.
I'm really excited because you're coming along to our Meet the Journalist event, aren't you?
Yes, evidently. Yes. See this arm, it's twisted up here.
And you're going to be on our panel, and it's all about really how the community, the business owners with great stories, can get onto your TV channel. So before we kind of just ask you a few things, I know you'll be answering lots of questions at the event, and
Right.
people will have opportunities to actually share their stories with you. Tell us, what is your channel? Because I've only just come across it and I'm really excited.
Okay, well, Made in Birmingham is the new local TV channel for the West Midlands. So that's who we are. We have a studio in Warsaw, and we have, where I operate from, the sports studio at Edgbaston Cricket Ground in Birmingham, of course. We have one of the boxes there that's turned into an office cum TV studio.
Fantastic.
So when, if you watch the sports news, the backdrop is a cricket pitch and the new stand stadium behind. But Made, some of you may know it as Big Centre Television. That was its sort of first appearance on the little box in the corner of the living room.
Yeah.
But now we're on so Made in Birmingham on channel 117 Sky.
Brilliant.
Virgin 159, and on Freeview channel 7.
And you've got a big audience already, haven't you?
It's a massive, since we've
Which
gone
is
on to Sky,
fantastic.
massive audience. We have an audience for January. Our monthly audience for January was as a round figure, was 1 million viewers.
Wow, that's amazing.
So for a channel that's only been going really as Made, with the changes that have been made since October last year, is fantastic.
So you're coming along to the event
Yeah.
as a journalist on our panel to kind of share and inspire people on how they can get on TV, but more importantly on your channel. And what is great about what you're doing is it's really grassroots, isn't it? It's really within the community, it's the heart of Birmingham, and you are genuinely looking for stories, experts to actually feature on your show, aren't you?
Yeah, we sort of, as a local TV channel, I mean, the clue is in the word local.
Yeah.
We have a great relationship with the other media outlets, especially with local BBC.
Yeah,
we work with them. We'd probably talk about that either at the Meet the Journalist event, or if you ask me the question, we can explain it out. That's not a problem. But we fill that gap between national TV and regional TV.
Yeah.
So if you think what's national TV is like ITN or BBC One News. Regional is Midlands Today or ITV Central, I think they call it now.
Yeah.
So we fill that gap where we really talk about what's happening within the West Midlands only. So if something's happening in Stoke, we're probably not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
If something's happening in Northampton, we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's West Midlands. And that's our niche, and that's what we look for. The stories that probably the other outlets wouldn't really entertain, or wouldn't have the manpower or time to cover, because there's a bigger story around the corner.
So now, this couldn't be a better time for anyone that's watching this, because they're coming to the Meet the Journalist event to understand what makes a good story.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to ask you all those questions from a TV point of view, what you look for in a story and all that. But to be able to have a community story to reach, nearly 1 million viewers or over 1 million viewers is absolutely fantastic. But what also excites me is that you were sharing with me that, like a lot of the channels now, your resources are kind of tied. So with a lot of the channels now, you're all sharing contacts, you're all sharing stories, because you're all the same. You start every day and say, right, what are we going to talk about on our channel today? How can we find the stories? And you actually share contacts, don't you? So you actually work with the BBC as well.
We have an agreement with local BBC, the Midlands Today, that our journalists, they will send 1, maybe 2 stories a day to the BBC.
Yeah.
Sports-wise, which is basically my area now, we certainly will send, if I cover the press conferences on a Thursday or a Friday before the weekend games, when I've spoken to Steve Bruce or Gianfranco Zola or Tony Pulis, whoever it might be, we will send that footage over to the BBC as well. And sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't. But like you just said, they don't have the manpower to be everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't. And sometimes we will take stuff off them
Yes.
as well,
Yeah.
depending. And it's an arrangement that's been going on for some time.
Yeah.
And it works well. And generally, if you're watching, for example, Midlands Today, and you see a piece that you don't see the interviewer and you don't hear the interviewer, it's probably one of ours that
The magic of
have
TV.
done it because we don't work for the BBC. That's one of the rulings that we can't be seen and we can't be heard.
Fantastic.
So generally, if you watch a press conference, generally then it will be a piece of just the manager speaking. It's probably me at the other side of the camera, and I've been asking the questions as well.
Brilliant. So in terms of then what you look for in a story, what is great, because you're personally covering the sports side, but you took the time to tell me that it's the story sometimes behind the kids, that why they're playing football, why they, it is the actual good community stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
So although it's sports related, it's a bit like Top Gear. We were talking about Top Gear these days. Really isn't about cars. It's about the stories and what they get up to. And you're very similar from the sports point of view. You want the stories behind that club and why they started.
It's the same old thing. People are interested in what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
For example, at the football grounds on a match day, our local clubs all have stadium tours. And I know, because I speak to the tour guides, the one place that the fans want to see more than anything else is the dressing room. Behind the scenes, what's the dressing room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And because they've never seen it before, it's behind the scenes.
Yes.
What goes on? How, we have people that come into the studio and they go, oh, this is how it works. Oh, that's how that's done, and that's how that's done.
Yes.
And it's behind the scenes. So it's the same thing with stories. Is certainly with sports things generally, there's something going on in the background, or what's led that person or that sportsman or woman to be in that position.
Yeah.
What have they had to give up? What have they sacrificed?
Yeah.
I'm doing a story fairly soon, a piece with a local golfer. Who's at the moment she studies in America. She's on the tour, but she doesn't. She plays golf on the ladies' tour, but it's what else she has to do to be at that level.
Yeah.
So we're doing a piece with her in the gym, with the psychologists.
Brilliant.
Not just hitting, turning up and playing golf. It's loads more that goes on. So for a golfer, it's probably interesting. Well, what sort of exercises you do in the gym then?
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's all that. So we're very much interested in stories that have got something behind them as well.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, and I think most people watching this will think, wow, I didn't know it was that easy, because this genuinely is a win-win scenario, isn't it? If they come to you with a great story, and when it comes to the Meet the Journalist event, we'll share with you what's the difference between an advert and a story, because we don't want to waste your time with an advert. You've got a commercial department for that, and it's still an opportunity, because obviously it's a great way to reach 1 million people if you want to have local coverage. Yeah. But once they understand the great story, you're like happy days, because you haven't got the time to do all the research, have you? And you want, and like you said it to me earlier as well, you want experts. So it is a genuine win-win.
Experts in whatever field, and okay, I as we said, I basically look after the sport for Made. But we also have a news team and a news editor and a head of news, and because of my background, I understand what is a news story. If it hasn't got sport attached, it's all right, you can still talk to me, because I'll pass it on.
Yes, yeah.
So always looking for experts, and sports wise, we love it if people play for a local club at an amateur level.
Yeah.
For example, the other week I did a piece on actually in Hall Green. In a guys and girls walking football club that has 250 members.
Gosh, yeah.
And there's the human interest part of that.
Yeah.
Was that there's a number of these, certainly the guys I spoke to, that had illnesses or were suffering from diabetes or high blood pressure, but since they've started walking football and taking the exercise, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of element as well that you just think, I'm walking football, that's a bit boring. But no, it's not actually.
Absolutely.
And there's a social side to it, but we did the piece, and at the end of the piece, the guy gave us the website address. Fantastic. And people who will watch it, and if anybody's interested, they'll make contact with it.
Well, the good thing with this as well is some of these stories that you're putting to your community TV, so Made TV in Birmingham, because they've got them all over the country as well, haven't they? Yeah. it can then get picked up, like you say, you share your contacts with the BBC, and the BBC regionally then share their stories nationally. So it really can have a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
But all these TV channels and these radio channels, you're all looking at each other anyway, aren't you, for the stories? Who's running what? Should we be covering that story? So if you can dip your toe in the water with these guys that genuinely want your stories, you know, this could go on to massive things.
Yeah, I mean, we as I said earlier, we fill this gap. And we're a little bit more flexible for the stories we're looking for than maybe the BBC or ITV or Sky or whoever. Because that's our angle, that's our USP. Is I keep on using the word. It's like that TV program, The League of Gentlemen, isn't it? You know, the local shop. You know, if you're not local, you're not coming in. Yeah, it's a bit like that. So, but we say even if the story, if it's loosely linked to something in the West Midlands, and it's interesting, you know, be it sport related or something else, then we can work with it.
Fantastic.
We can work with it.
Gary's going to be coming along to the event, so thank you very much. So if you haven't secured your ticket now, come along to the event. You'll be able to ask your questions. You'll also have a chance to pitch your story in the room. But what we'll also do as well is we'll make sure that the good stories or the stories actually get passed over to them anyway, and so their team can actually look at it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you can be on Sky too. Gary, thank you.
It's a pleasure. All I say to everyone is, if you've got a story, the worst thing we can say as journalists is no.
And I think people are so scared of journalists, scared of TV, but you're just a normal guy, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I know a guy, yeah. Absolutely right.
Absolutely. So they shouldn't be scared. You're not there, you know, you're there to support each other.
We're not there to criticise anything.
You might even actually give them a credit for their website or introduce them as the expert.
It depends on what it is, but we always give something back.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
Lovely.
See you at the Meet
See you next week.
Take care.